Hey guys, I'm Tiffany Harlick and welcome back. I'm with Hacienda Harlick and the Beekeepers Almanac, and I'm so excited because I have my friend Dodie Stillman with us today on the podcast. Thank you, Dodie. And Dodie, you have a lot of accolades in the beekeeping world, but I think the best accolade I can give you is that the first time I met you, which you may not remember this, but the first time I met you was at a TBA convention, and it was my first year beekeeping. And this is 5 or 6 years ago at this point, and I didn't know anyone. And I was so excited to like go to the convention and meet people and just learn everything that I could learn. And I went to the dinner and I was looking around and there really wasn't anywhere to sit, or everybody kind of already had their groups. And so, not knowing you or your accolades, I just asked if anybody was sitting here, and you said, "Come on and join us, and we'll take you in." And man, you just loved me up, and I just appreciated that so much. And it wasn't until several years later that we got to start collaborating and working on some things together. So, before I jump into your interview today, I just want to let people know that we're going to talk with Dodie specifically about drones because it's a project she's working on with the Texas Master Beekeeper Program. But Dodie is a former TBA president. She operates in the Austin area, the Austin community. And could you just give us a little introduction about yourself?
Let's see. I thought I wanted to be a beekeeper because I've been melting crayons since kindergarten. So I was all about the wax and what I could do with it. My husband said no. I was like, okay. I asked again, I don't know, 6 months later. He's like, you have so much going on. You're working full time. You're a mom of 2 kids. They've got stuff. You've got stuff. You like going on long bike rides. You don't have time for bees. So I didn't think about it again. And it was probably a year later, he came home from work and said, guess what? I have to go take pictures at a bee school. I was like, oh, I'm going with you. So we were like last minute add-ons to go into and look at some beehives, and they didn't have any extra gloves. They didn't know we were going to be there. So we did have veils and some equipment, but no gloves. My husband handed me his big black flash. So it's big, it's black, and it's flashing bright lights. He's like, go get in there closer and get closer in so that you can flash off and I can take pictures into this box. And get closer, get closer, get closer. So here I am with my naked hand in this big black thing flashing a big bright light and crawling myself closer into the beehive. And I got stung, of course. My hand, all got stung. Um, so I'm like, oh, I'm getting stung, I'm getting stung. So the people, I like didn't, good thing I didn't toss the flash. So I got out of the bees and walked away and everything and had, a couple of bees stuck on my thumb, and we got the stingers, got them out and everything. And my husband was so sad about like, I kind of did that on purpose, but I didn't mean to hurt her. He was feeling guilty. That's it, guilty. So I
Right.
said, okay, if you still want to be a beekeeper, let me know what you need, and I'll set that up for you for I don't know, it's a birthday present or Christmas, whatever big holiday was next. I was like, okay, cool. So I gave him the list of all the things because I'm sure he thought with my hand all swollen I wouldn't want to be a beekeeper anymore, but
Right.
I proved him wrong. So handed him my list of here's all the things that I would buy if I were starting over again, and got all that stuff. And he's like, I'm nervous about you doing this by yourself. You need to hook up with somebody who's doing this. And just so I was like, okay, I'll go find a friend. So, call a friend, phoned a friend.
Yeah.
Well, I found a friend who I conned into doing this with me. And
Yes.
then we found another friend to put it on her property. So I had bees out in Walberg, which is just north of Austin, just north
Okay.
of Round Rock. And there's a Walberg Mercantile, and they play music every weekend, and sometimes just during the week in the evenings. So we could go out there on the weekends and hear nice German bands, or the high school band, or Joe's garage band, always playing. That's how close my bees were. So that was 13, 14 years ago. So I've kept bees alive for that long.
Yes.
And kept looking for people to do this with and find out more information. And I was in the middle of 2 different bee clubs. So I went to the Austin Bee Club. They were
Mhm.
they were meeting in North Austin. And I went to
Mhm.
the Williamson County Bee Club because I live in Williamson County, so I can go to Georgetown and not get into any traffic. So I went to 2 bee clubs monthly for the first 5 years, probably learning everything I could learn, and
Mhm.
really learned a lot from Lance Wilson. He was one of the first, very smart guy, took a very scientific approach. Everything had to be, it couldn't just be, it feels right. It had to be, there had to be some reason, some documentation, here's my study group, and here's A, and here's B, and here's C, and, some scientific background, or else he didn't believe in it at all. So I kind of got that as my background to
Yeah.
getting real into beekeeping. And he was the first person who helped bring over the Texas Master Beekeeper Program to Texas. He was working through it in Georgia through the Georgia program, and he's like,
Yeah.
we need one in Texas. So he
Right.
talked to Dr. Rangel, and through the Texas Apiary Inspector Service, Mark Dykes was our inspector at the time, and Dr. Rangel from A&M, and he worked together to get Dr. Jamie Ellis's program from Florida, and just picked it all up and brought it over here. And that's why a lot of our stuff at the very beginning had stuff about Florida and orange trees, and it was more kind of focused towards Florida. We tried to get in there and edit all that out, but yeah, it's taken a while. But
But you've done such a good job. So I'm a product of the overlap. So I took Lance's classes and videos and got my first level when it was still over in this department, and now it's with AgroLife, and you can
yeah,
see that there's less Florida and more Texas, uh,
yes,
and so
Dr.
it's
Slater has done an excellent job updating it all. And now if you pay the $70 to take the test, you
mhm,
can also sit in on 10 weeks of
mhm,
classes and go through and listen to some different topic each week that will you just gain so much more knowledge, and that just wasn't even an option before. So
right.
awesome work that they're
Awesome program.
right.
Yes. Before we go deeper into the master beekeeper, I want to back up and I want you to tell us the story about your grandparents. So I know that both granddads were beekeepers,
Both
and
of them were, yeah, one not so good, the other one much better. My dad is the youngest of 9 kids,
okay.
so all of my cousins are older than me. They're
Mhm.
all older. So um the deal was, so my grandpa's grandfather's house was here, and my cousin's house was here, and there was a big empty field in between. Used to play football and baseball in between and just run. And I had lots of cousins. He was the youngest of 9, and
And is
everybody.
that here in Texas or?
Yes, in Texas.
Okay.
They lived in Baytown, just
Okay.
south of Houston.
Bee
So
country.
yeah, so tallow. um so anyway, um in between the 2 houses, we get these big tall mud dauber, um not mud dauber, yes, mud dauber, piles of mud when the you know
Yeah.
so my older cousins would pick them up and go throw them at the beehives. And I'm, just running behind and trying to keep up with all the big cousins. Don't really know what's going on, but I got in all kinds of trouble because they threw the mud clobs at the bees, and they ran, and I just stood there not knowing what was going on, and they took off like a shot really fast. The bees did not eat. I don't remember getting stung or anything. I just remember getting in trouble because those are grandpa's bees, and you're not supposed to mess with grandpa's bees. So,
Mhm.
I knew that grandpa had bees and that you weren't supposed to mess with them. That was just about all that I knew about that. But he apparently had bees for a really long time because my dad said he had them when he was young,
Mhm.
and that was all the way until I was born. So, but the other grandfather didn't have them for quite as long. So, yeah, kind of. But still, my dad said no, he's not having bees. So I don't get to be a multi-generational beekeeper. Bummer.
Well, I don't know. It kind of counts in my book. It's still in your blood. It's still in your bones. It's
Yeah.
still a desire has been passed down. And so, yeah, and then you're answering a calling. And I always like to talk with people about that because it always, to me, it feels like there's something bigger going on when you get interested in beekeeping because
Mm.
it's such an odd thing to get interested in. There's
Yeah.
this like nostalgia around it, but when you get down to it, we're all stung pretty regularly and
Right.
we're
It's,
all overcoming our fears pretty regularly. Um,
mhm.
and so yeah, I love that it's part of your family and part of your heart and part of your future too. So tell us, you have been part of the Master Beekeeping Program, and for anybody that's fresh news for, what is the Master Beekeeping Program and why did you get involved?
It's um it's I think 5 or 6 years long. Um it takes a while. So you have to keep bees alive for a year and then you can take your first test. And then you keep bees alive and you do some public service credits and learn some more about bees and you take another test and then it takes you 2 years and you take another test and then however long it takes you to take another test. So it's just a progressive kind of thing where you, for me, it was I needed a deadline to go read that big any one of those books that are over there.
Yeah.
Got a huge library. Um, my beekeeper's handbook is the one that I use the most.
Hmm.
But I mean, I've got that big fat A to Z, y- y-
Oh,
the big fat one.
yeah.
Anyway, so many books over there.
Mhm.
But they were just taking up space on the bookshelf. I really wasn't gonna get deep into any of them unless I had some kind of motivation. And I think it was I was saying, I can't do this. It's been 20 years since I've been out of high school or college. I don't even remember how to study. And my baby girl at the time said, "Well, so at what point is it, Mom, that I don't have to learn anymore?" I was like,
Right.
"Okay, that you're right. I can do it. I can learn some more." So I started learning some more, using it. I mean, I really did use it as a deadline to
Hmm.
learn more. But the program is awesome, mostly because you have to do the public service credits,
Hmm.
and that makes you want to learn so that you don't tell somebody something that's wrong, right? And some of the easiest mm, credits to get, honestly, for me, have been to go talk to kids at schools.
Hmm.
And you really don't want to tell them anything that's wrong. So you got to study up on your bee biology and what can you say? Well, you can't say bee butts. You can't, no butts. So you got
Or
to
vomit,
say, yeah, you
bee
got to say
vomit. Yeah.
yeah, bee vomit or honey is bee vomit. You got to be real careful how you tell them everything because it just gets magnified. So if you say something wrong, you'll hear about it the whole rest of the day.
Yeah.
You gotta be really on mark, on spot to talk about kids, to talk to kids about bees. And they ask some of the greatest questions, and you never know where they're coming from. So you gotta just be ready for just anything. So that really helps you learn more so that you can present more and get better, get more comfortable public speaking and all that good stuff. I also had a really great time in one of the later levels. Was going up to apprentice probably, or maybe it was master. She had to spend 40 hours with the queen breeder, or that was one of the options for credit. And we had just had been introduced in our club to Art Thomas, who is
Okay.
a queen breeder who just moved back to Texas, who had at that point just moved back to Texas and decided he was going to breed queens again. So I kind of walked up to him, just kind of a cold call. Hi, you don't know me, but I'd like to come to your house and hang out with you for 40 hours. And he's like, "Well, it's not really queen raising season, but sure, come on, we'll find something to do." And I made boxes with him using a jig. I made frames using, 100 boxes. And I didn't help him paint them though. We just nailed them all. He had a gun, a nail gun. So
He knew what to do with you.
Right. I mean, he put me to work. I was manual labor for way more than 40 hours. I mean, because it was going into the fall and he's like, "No, I don't do winter queens. I only do spring queens." So we just we made boxes, we made frames. We did go out and check bees. We leveled resources in all of his colonies. He had bees all over the place, and he was the first person who talked to me about, and he would go and say, "Well, my other colonies from here are that direction 2 miles, that
Mhm.
direction 3 miles," and I didn't realize at the time, it didn't even dawn on me. Oh, he's telling me this information so that he knows where his drones and his queens are going to mate. So he has saturated his drone congregation areas with his colonies. So it's like, and I didn't even catch that until a year later, probably, that, he was giving me all kinds of knowledge that I just, absorbed, but didn't know where it fit into the puzzle until
Right.
I got more pieces. But anyway, learned a ton from him. We extracted honey that year and helped him extract his honey, and then it wasn't until the next spring that we actually started doing the queen rearing, and I scooped the little babies out and stuck them in and thought all the time I was doing this that I'm never doing this again. I've got got glasses somewhere now, so I for real can't do that. Um, but I had already seen Sue Colby do artificial insemination and knew at that point that I was paying $45 for a queen, and that was perfectly fine with me. That
Well spent. Money
Yeah,
well spent. Yeah.
absolutely well spent. That trying to do this on your own is crazy.
Yeah.
Um, and then the work that's involved in raising your own queens and the timing that you got to be spot on. You got to get those babies at the right time, and you've got to get the queens out of there at the right time. And he had a big calendar, and he marked everything on his calendar. And I am too lazy. I'm a lazy beekeeper. I say a lot that I'm a lazy, cheap beekeeper. So if it's more expensive or more work, I'm probably not going to be doing it. So
Yeah.
my my uh my saying a lot is I'm a cheap, lazy beekeeper. So and if they don't need it, I'm not getting it to if I'm not giving it to them. So
Yeah. I love it. Well, you haven't discouraged me. I'm still interested in making queens.
that's cool. Do it, do it, do it.
I
I mean,
visited.
I could probably do the walk away queens, where you're just
Yeah,
making
yeah,
a queen.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm
That's
okay with
what I
buying.
did earlier this year, and I just to prove to myself that the drones in the area were going to produce like non-crazy colonies, and I got to visit some of the ones that I bred, and then I helped along in life and gave to other people this year, and they're all awesome. So I was excited to tell you that because it's really just this week that I have found the queens that are bred with the drones that you found through our drone congregation flights, and they're producing really quality calm bees with queens that have a good laying pattern. And I don't have myself completely proven, but I have a good season behind me now.
Yeah.
So well, awesome. So let's kind of tie those two things together. So we're talking about the Texas Master Beekeeper Program, and there's many different like focus areas that you could take credits in. You don't have to do queen rearing. You could do
No.
something like
I
pollination.
didn't. Yeah, I did in my first year. So this is my first year. What I really wanted to do was plants.
Yeah,
I
beautiful.
made a big plant book.
How fun is that?
So there's my um I don't know, can you see it? Ah,
No, it's blurry. There. Yeah, now I can't. No.
that's a dandelion. And
Yep.
then so that was one credit. You have to do 10 pressed flowers.
Okay.
And the other credit was you got to take pictures of 10 bees on flowers. Come on, why are you not focusing?
It if you'll put your face in it, I think it will.
My face.
Yeah. No, there.
It
Oh,
goes in and out. Anyway, it's a bee on a that same plant. The
oh,
the
cool.
dandelion. So
Yeah.
you got the dandelion picture over here. Ah, dandelion with a bee, and then a nice dried up dandelion over here. So a whole big fat book of all of the, so that was like fun,
Yeah.
way fun for me.
Yeah.
So that was my major. So yeah, not even anything to do with queen breeding.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot of room to work on different projects and different interests within the Master Beekeeper program. And
Yeah.
where you are now is really cool. And so I want you to talk a little bit about how you and perhaps Dr. Slater came up with this idea to map our drone congregation areas in Texas, which is phenomenal because first of all, it hasn't been done before.
Right.
And second of all, we often, when we're doing beekeeping education, we often kind of leave out the drones.
You
The
kind of
drones,
do.
right? They get, it's like, oh, that they're for mating and that's it. And the first time that I heard otherwise was in Jacqueline Freeman's book. She wrote a book called The Song of Increase. And so she has a spiritual take on the drone as the shaman of the hive. And it was a really cool, interesting idea that just opened my mind to consider maybe there's much more to it than just mating. But
No.
I'd love to hear how this project was sparked, and then what the project is. And then I have a million more questions.
So I got up to master craftsman, not master craftsman, master, and passed that test.
Mhm.
And at that point, it was like 8 years ago that I did that. And that was still, we had Lance
Mhm.
was involved. And the documentation at that time said to do the next level, you have to advance the overall bee knowledge. And
Mhm.
what they really wanted you to do was go off to A&M, work with a graduate student on their final project. And you didn't have to do the whole project, but you had to do a piece of it. And then you had to report on the whole project. So you had to help mark queens, you had to help collect drones, you had to help collect mites, check for something in their project, and then talk about the whole rest of the project. Well, I live all the way here, in Round Rock, and that wasn't an option for me to drive to Bryan every day or even once a week at that point, really. Um, so I kind of felt, "Well, I'm not ever gonna go to that next level." Um, but I still stayed involved with the Master Beekeeper program and still helped do all the, if you go do the first test, you get to actually go into bees. So
Mhm.
my husband and I have been out there a lot to help light the smoker and go into a beehive. And you have to show me the queen and show me a drone and show me this and show me that. And if you can show me all the things, then I check it all off and you go back in and take another part of your test. So I've helped with that part a whole lot. And now just lately, as we've gotten more people get up to the master level, you have to write an essay and all kinds of, it's more handwriting. So I've helped grade those. Um, so just, I'm on the board. So they ask for my help and I'm there anyway. So I help. Um, so, um, it, the whole program shifted over to our brand new apiary specialist that we have with AgriLife, and Dr. Slater has just taken off with it. Coming from the schools where he's had master beekeeper programs before, so he knew what was needed and what we were
Yeah.
missing, and so he just jumped in with 2 feet and made it starts to make it happen. Um,
Yeah.
and he's like, "We need to get more master craftsmen." And Dodie, when are you going to do it? I was like, so he kept bothering me with, "We're going to do citizen science. We're going to do these. We're going to do this. We're
Yes.
going to have
Yeah.
these things." Um, and he just kept throwing ideas out there. And finally, he said something about using drones to find drones, and I was like, "Wait, what's that? Wait, what'd you say?" I've got a friend who actually has a bunch of he flies drones around. It's just his way to play. They're like go-karts for the air, he's bzz, 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 bzz. So I knew what a drone was and kind of how to fly one. I knew where I could get one. So he talked to me about it a little bit more and said, we're, before, how they always did it before was just take took a virgin queen in a cage, put her on a long pole, and walked around looking for groups of boy bees. And the cool thing is these boy bees come back over and over again to the same spot. They call them drone congregation areas. And the funny thing is, I was telling my husband about this, what I'm going to do. And he's like, they're pulling your leg. There's no such thing. It's like, no, yes, there is. There really is. And he didn't believe me until I started showing him on the drone as we were flying. Look, do you see all of these boy bees flying here? He was like, how do you know they're boy bees? Like, you can't see them. That's not your too. I was like, this is, who else is going to be attracted to this smell? First of all, because we have a queen here, or if not a queen, a pheromone. Yeah, the smell of her. And plus this obvious flight pattern has been documented. It's it's a circle turbo kind of thing. Like dragonflies don't care,
Yeah.
These are honeybees. So he's like, okay, I guess it is. But the thing that's cool is that they return to the same spot. And now, if you all know, if the boy gets lucky, that's it for him, right? That he falls to his death. If he doesn't get lucky, he goes back home. And then at the end of the season, when resources start to shrink, they kick out all the boys. So there's no boy in the colony, no boys here. And now next year we make new boys and they go back to that same drone congregation area. There's nobody here to tell them. There's no generational knowledge. So how do they know to go back to that? So that's like the big mystery. How are they formed? How do they know? How do they know to come back to that same spot? And there's one documented in forget the name of the town in England, and it's from 1700s. So for forever, 200 years, they've been documenting that bees come back to this same spot year over year. So
Wild.
it's crazy, but so
does that answer the question about like where we were flying our drone? We really did find a spot that they go to. We didn't attract them to.
No, because I have flown and flown and flown and not seen a bug one.
Wow.
So I don't have enough juice in this pheromone that I'm holding under here to make a drone congregation area.
Yeah.
And I was kind of worried about that too for a little while, because I went out and found them, and and Dr. Slater was like, God, you're magic. I'm like, I can't be. It's a fluke, but then I started going in other places where, first of all, he was like, you got to start with where your apiary is. And I'm in a field. If I go right around where my bees are, then yes, I do get pinged. But if I step away from them a little bit, nothing. And I went out there and I have enough for an hour of flight time, 3 different times in my field. No, none. Back and forth, up and down, and this side, back and forth, up and down, nothing. I'm like, well, maybe it's the time of day. Maybe it's Thursday. Something's wrong. Maybe it's going to rain tomorrow. So I'd go back again on a different week, a different day, and nothing. Different, a little earlier, a little later. No, there are there's no congregation area in my bee yard that
Wow.
they can find. But so this is where my bee yard is. Right next door is a church, and they have a big field. And I thought, well, let's just go next door. We can fly in the church's parking lot, or park in their parking lot and fly in that field.
Yeah.
And that's where I found one. So not far from my bees, especially not far if you're flying in a straight line.
Yeah. I bet they were very happy for you to move your bee yard there. The drones.
There's the big tree line, right? So there probably a lot of my drones are there.
Yeah.
A big tree line. So I don't think they bothered anybody at the church. But
yeah.
Anyway, so that's where I think most of my bees start out. But I've also learned a whole lot about drones and DCAs.
Yeah.
As the drone gets older, he bar hops. So I always call it the local bee bar, because that's where he's going.
Bar in the sky.
Right, there to pick up ladies. And since he's just flying the whole time, he's got to stay kind of close to home, because there's there's only 30 minutes worth of juice in his tank before he's exhausted and has to come back home.
Like the camera, right?
Exactly, yeah. So he flies out, but now as he gets older, like, I've been to this bar so many times and I didn't get lucky here. I'm going to go to the next one. So
Okay.
they do go to more than one DCA, especially as they get older. And
Okay.
know that haven't had any luck at this one, and I'll go to the next one.
Mm-hmm. Huh.
More than
I,
one, they'll hit more than one DCA.
and they can freely come and go in the colonies, right? As opposed to the worker bees. I
Pretty
always thought
much.
that
They
was an
do.
interesting tidbit.
Yep. Yep, they do drift. Drones are about the only, I mean, the queen stays, of course, in her colony. Workers can drift a little bit, especially if they come in with groceries. If they have
Mhm.
a full honey stomach or they have pollen on their legs, they'll let them come in. Eat, right now, especially if it's dearth and there's
Mhm.
nothing else and you're coming in with groceries, yeah, come on in.
Right?
But boys just have to knock. They get in anywhere. So crash on your couch and they even feed them. So it's, yeah.
Well, I was excited. Dr. Lamas has been doing some interesting research with drones, and I've gotten to go to some of his clinics. And then next was you and your work. And so, backing up a little bit to where you and Dr. Slater are talking about, hey, this is going to be a good project. Do you want to talk any about your relationship with Julia Mahood, or how
Right. Yeah.
that conversation got going?
She actually did this same project for her master craftsman level project.
Mhm.
Um, and she created a website called Map My DCAs. So you can go to Map My DCAs and find, I think I have 7 dots for Texas now.
Let's see. Okay, I'm going to pull it up. Go ahead.
Okay, you pull it up. She's on her way right now to Appomattox, or
Oh, yeah.
scheduled to go there. It hasn't happened quite yet, but she's presenting. She made a poster for Map My DCAs, and she's going to present on something different. But she's got a poster submitted for that. She's like, put all of your DCAs on there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
All
if
right.
you go under the up at the top where it says map. And make me put my glasses on so I can see it. There we go.
Sorry.
Now zoom into Texas, and those are our dots. So
Look, there's your name.
yeah, you can, yeah, scroll on in, and we can even go up to Abilene and see your dots, because 2 of
That's
those
so
dots are
cool.
yours.
So yes, so it was really cool to have Dodie out at my place. Um, Sorry for user error here, guys. This summer, so that must be it because that's the Abilene spot.
There you
So
go.
Dodie was here for TBA summer convention, and I said, "Hey, why don't you want to come do some drone mapping?" Thinking there's no way that you're going to have time or interest, and you said yes. So I was so stoked because we ended up finding 2 within about an hour, and
Click details, and you can see so it'll pop open. Uh-oh.
uh-oh,
We don't want to
I'll-
edit it. Go,
I
go back to map again and try it one more time.
okay.
It gives you all the details about this DCA. Bummer.
Bummer. Okay, I'll try to log in real quick. So tell us a story about the Julia and her projects, and then I'll pull it back up.
So, so she was doing this. So, um, Dr. Slater said, you get in touch with her and find out, what all she knows. And I looked at all of her website and then actually talked to her. Now we're not Facebook friends because she's not on Facebook. So anytime I find a bunch of bees, I text them to her and I was like, "Is this one?" And she'll like, "Yeah." So we're text buddies now. And she's like, I need to say my presentation. Would you listen to me? I was like, heck yeah, I'll listen. So I've listened to her presentation on while I'm driving, and she's just talking for a little while. But very, very smart. Same boat that we're in, working on our master craftsman project. And she finished hers and did this project and created the whole website. And so she hired somebody else to put it all together for her. She just put the information out there. But she's been able to contact other people all around the world. You saw the map with all the dots everywhere and say, hey,
Yeah.
have you found any? And just having it there and having people see that it's there. So as part of a citizen science project, anybody can go and look at the information about how to do it and how to use your drone or a queen on a stick, or there you can also use a big weather balloon, but weather balloons, helium is very expensive in it. But they did that for a little while too. They sent
Wow.
weather balloons up on like a kite string, just like a kite, and
Yeah.
had a pheromone hanging down from it, and sometimes even a cage to catch the drones so that they could count them in the area. Um, so just finding the DCAs is my part of the overall project now. So if there is a research project that somebody needs to do, and part of that, a first step in that project would be to find where they mate, to find
Hmm.
a DCA, then maybe they can just pull open this map and not have to spend any time searching for a DCA on their own. Just, pull it up and go, oh, here's a close one right here. I can go get that one.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Okay, so it looks like they're having some errors. Well, on the website, I'll have to pull that back up later. I'll make sure to pop the link down in our description of our video. But I just love that you can pull up a map and see where there's DCAs are. I mean, this is really interesting to, as you said, like forward beekeeping. But why would people who could benefit from knowing where the DCAs are? Why is this helpful to some beekeepers?
so not only just for research purposes, which is the big thing, so that we can advance our knowledge. Um, Also, I've had a whole bunch of people that want to raise queens ask me about, come and look, come and map around my area. See, look and see what might be around mine. So that'll help you if you want to actually be a queen breeder to
Mhm.
know um, if there are colonies. If you know there's managed colonies, then you should find DCAs around. If there
Mhm.
aren't any managed colonies and you find DCAs, then you got to know that you've got feral colonies.
Mhm.
So are those the genes that you want?
Mhm.
You in Abilene, probably yes.
Mhm.
Me further south, maybe not.
Mhm.
So if you're in an Africanized zone, that might mean that more of those drones could have that gene, and you might not want your really defensive drones coming out.
Yeah.
So knowing whether or not you can, and then just any beekeeper in general, if can I afford to let my queen go out and open mate?
Yeah.
If I could look on a map and know these were all the DCAs around me, and if I could go look at my club map and know, oh, okay, well, these are probably all belong to if I could
Mhm.
match it up like that, then I would know that if whether or not I can afford to let my queen go out and open mate or not.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
it's all about what genetics you might run into and what your chances are of running into good ones versus maybe not so good ones.
Mhm. Well, I mean, thank you so much for continuing to do that work and just continuing to populate. At this point, I think you need to confirm, right? Like you go out and then you come back and you confirm that that in fact is, so it's not just like a lucky moment that you
Yeah,
happen to have a lot of bees. Uh,
right. And
I love,
it's
yeah.
crazy. I have gone out on confirmation flights for a bunch of them,
Mhm.
and it's like, well, I know it's going to be over here somewhere, so because I'm sure there's a way to get more pinpoint specific. And I do. And when I'm flying my drone and I think I found a DCA area, I've got a lot of bees down there. I'll like look up and kind of go around in a circle and try to visualize where I am on a map.
Mhm.
I have done it, and my GPS on my either my drone or my phone is off,
Mhm.
because when I plug in what the latitude and longitude is on it, it puts me in another state. So I know that's not right.
Right.
If I add a negative to it, it gets me really close.
Mhm.
So something's off just a little bit. I'm not quite sure what. Um,
Yeah.
I probably on like the location setting on my phone, I probably maybe it's set to the store that I bought it at or something. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's not, but that's okay. I don't really want it to be, for my safety, I don't really want it to be set that.
Right.
So anyway, when I go out and look, I look up on the camera and look all around and try to figure out where I am, and then I look on my Google Earth map, and your Google map, and I kind of know where I parked and kind of in general where I am. So I'm really close, so I can get really close. So I go back again and I get really close, and the places I've double checked a couple of places, 4 different places, and been able to find drones again. It's like, look, yay, this is a spot. Yay, I found big.
Yeah.
So it's always cool to get that confirmation in. Because I mean, it's probably not a lucky guess, because now that I have flown so many and not seen any, I know what it looks like when it's not a DCA. So
Right.
I know the ones that if I can see 20, 30, 50, 100, then I know that that is a DCA.
You're in your spot. Yeah.
And
And
and they're not just flying through,
yeah,
they're doing that swirly kind of, that very
coming to get you, fly.
yeah, very characteristic of a drone in a DCA kind of flight. So
Uh,
yeah.
Okay, and so something else that I think you have found is that there's like a certain height range that you're flying where you found them. There's kind of a certain time of day, and by time of day, I mean, that's going to change seasonally. But what can you tell us? Just a few little tidbits. Don't give away all the secrets, because I want you guys to come to bee school in Abilene this October, because Dodie is going to give us a whole complete lecture deep dive into this subject. But can you tease us a little bit with that?
Sure. Just like the workers in the colony take off and do orientation flights, our drones are doing that at the same time. So it's an afternoon kind of flight.
Mhm.
So you got to go look in the afternoon. It won't do you any good to go at 8 o'clock, because who goes to the bar that early? Nobody. Nobody's
Hey,
at the bar.
back in the day, I was that girl.
No, that was you coming home.
Okay.
It was from the night before.
Okay, okay.
So got a new day. You got to wait till the afternoon.
Good.
So it's an afternoon kind of thing.
Yep.
Um, good, because you're doing it after work, so you can go on and go to work and then come home and grab your drone and go out and play. And yeah, the whole whole all the different reasons we have figured out that bees don't interbreed. Why doesn't that queen mate with her own brothers or sons?
Mhm.
So many different reasons that I've found. So
Mhm.
they fly when the first of all, when the drone flies out, because he's just flying, he's
Mhm.
not resting. He's got to fly and then come home. He goes close, so he's staying at that neighborhood bee bar. But our
Yeah.
girl, when she leaves, she flies out a mile before she even thinks about looking for boys. So
Mhm.
you got them going at 2 different distances. So
Interesting. Yeah.
one of the reasons why there's no inbreeding. So there's a couple other, but I'll tell you about those later.
In bee school. Okay, we'll keep some secrets. So I want to shift gears just a little bit. Is there anything else you want to talk about in terms of the drone project or?
It's cool. I have for the official project, I have to do another presentation. So if anybody's going to the Waco TBA conference, we're giving a I have to give the presentation there again.
Mhm.
I might get to. I have 2 of them. I haven't done the other one yet. I've got a fun one that we'll do at the
In
West Texas
Abilene.
Bee School.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm probably going to do that one in Waco, but I also have a very, um, I'm not going to say bone dry, but just the basics,
Just the facts.
Yeah, just the facts. Here it is. Da 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 da. So I'll be giving that presentation in the Master Craftsman room, and I think anybody can come in and listen to those presentations, because I think um, Dan Winters is also going to be doing his Master Craftsman presentation also. So
Cool.
we might have
Okay.
2 people matriculating up a level.
I
Um,
love it.
so come and listen then at either of those presentations. Mm, I don't know what else.
No, that's good. Let's switch gears for a little bit, and then if we think of something else for drones, we can finish up. You are in the Austin area. You've been a leader in the Austin area for a long time in terms of beekeeping. One of the hearts behind me wanting to interview so many people is to give everyone kind of some go-to people in their area. So when I started beekeeping, one of the hardest things for me was trying to understand, like, well, if that's what David Burns is doing, if that's what Tom Seeley's writing about, why is it not working for me in Texas? And how the microclimates are so important. And so I'd love to really connect new beekeepers with community leaders or people that have some advanced beekeeping skills in their growing zone, in their growing region. And so you in Austin is USDA plant hardiness zone 9A. Some areas are considered 8B. But you know, I'm from Austin. I lived there for a really long time. I went back and forth between Austin and Abilene for a really long time. And it is completely different keeping bees in Austin than it is in Abilene. And so towards that, I was hoping you could speak a little bit about your plants and what the bees forage on. What is your honey? What are their flavors? What does your year look like? And then I'll guide us through some other little questions.
So my year starts off with bluebonnets. That's, I mean, we see the small things, and I tell people in Central Texas that really in this area, if your bees are here in this area, there is something blooming, there is some pollen that they can bring in year round. If
Hmm.
you are not trying to build your bees up, you don't need to buy pollen. You don't need to spend any money on pollen substitutes.
Hmm.
If because that makes babies, right?
Right,
Pollen is the protein that makes the babies.
right.
And all of the beekeepers online are always talking about, feeding their pollen patties in
Oh, yeah.
January and building up their big colonies because they've got a goal, they've got a plan. They're going to take their bees to California.
Uh-huh.
So,
Or they're gonna make nukes and sell, right? Yeah,
right. So
yeah.
if your bees are staying right here in Central Texas, I mean, think about I think it was 2021 where we had snowpocalypse.
Hmm.
Have we ever had 3 weeks of snow, ice and snow before? No, but if I had fed my bees in January, February the 14th, when we were in week 2 of snow, they would have been, that they would have all died. So,
Yeah,
and February 14th, for other beekeepers that are commercial guys, they're already in the almonds.
right.
So you gotta not let any of that peer pressure get to you, right? Just because everybody else is feeding pollen, they have different goals and different priorities. So don't think you have to feed pollen, especially not if you're not prepared for what that could mean. So, mistletoe has little white flowers. So December and January, we've got mistletoe. You don't need to feed them pollen then if they can get out, if you get a warm enough day.
Hmm.
So if I put pollen out, it's freestanding and it's just for them to play in.
You do? I don't know anybody else that does open feeding pollen, and I wanted to try that this year. So tell me, because every other colony I've dug into where somebody fed pollen, the pollen was full of nasty. It was full of
Yes,
worms. It was full of bugs.
right. Small hive
They didn't
beetles.
need it for their goals. You couldn't sell me on it. And
Right.
finally, I talked to somebody that said I open feed pollen, and I was like, "What?" so, so tell me your experience.
I just put it on a paper plate and
Yeah.
they all get there and they're just playing. They just play. I think, they're crawling around it on the edges and packing it on their legs. And I mostly have luck during the summer dearth.
Hmm.
It's really the only time I throw it out there. And it's
Was
mostly
that
because
July, August for you? July.
August, September. Yeah. When you look out and it's all brown. And this is a weird August, September because I'm looking out and it's green. So
Hmm.
not this year.
Yeah.
I mean, that crepe myrtle is over there all bloomed up pretty and I still got sunflowers. Um, so my year starts with the bluebonnets because that's our big pollen plant. Bluebonnet, there's no bluebonnet honey. It's not a big nectar plant. Y'all know, don't buy any bluebonnet honey. That's not a thing. But it is a really good pollen plant. So that pops up and all of my bees pull that in. I can see it all over their legs. That's great because we're making babies with that and we're getting a big population going. The next couple of plants that come in are Gaillardia and a lot of the other plants, but I mostly it's Gaillardia, the Indian blanket that you see. And I think most of my honey is Gaillardia, and then like this year wasn't very good, but previous years, horse mint, bee balm, that purple poof poof poof. I get a ton of that too. So those are the two big nectar plants in my area that we have.
Okay.
They hit all kinds of other things. You know, there's like I said, there's the dandelion and privet and henbit and we get what's the thing they make the tea out of? Um, mm, 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 mm. I can't remember now. Yopon,
Oh,
it
yeah.
blooms little flowers. And that's a really early plant too, like March. So,
Okay.
um, and then we get into a little bit of a time. We're in that time right now where the uh, the goldenrod is a big, huge stalk, but it hasn't quite bloomed. I see a few of them that have bloomed. I still have sunflowers. The big sunflowers are out. Uh, and you know, some little yellow daisies, some I don't know, we call them ditch lilies. I don't know what they're called. There's little things, but there's nothing that's going to be a big enough thing to say my honey is goldenrod
This
or my honey
thing.
is
Yeah.
this or that. Um, so I'm in between, and now I'm trickle feeding a little bit. So just we have a half-gallon juice pitcher, and they get 1-to-1 sugar syrup, and only once a week. So not a whole lot. It's dry by the time we come back, and it's probably because they've moved it into a cell somewhere. We do collect all the honey in July, sometime before the end of July, whatever weekend we can get in there and make it work. We do because we do have the snow on the prairie, and
You do? Okay.
yeah. I mean it's close enough probably that they could get to it if they need.
Yeah.
So I don't want any of that in the honey, in my honey. I don't mind
Right.
it's staying for the bees. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I don't really like the goldenrod honey as much because it probably has a little tint of that in there.
Interesting. Yeah.
But our goldenrod is so the coolest thing I found out this year, and look here, I've been doing this for 14 years, 15 years. And this is the first year I went over to a goldenrod stalk and broke it off and used that stalk to get all the bees off of a frame. We didn't have any bee brushes, and that stalk worked great. And I know always before I thought, I don't want to hurt my flowers, but now we've got just so much of it. It's like I can break off a stalk. And those were the best bee brushes. So if you don't have
Much
a
better
bee,
than a mesquite branch, I'll tell you that.
well, probably yes, but a lot of time we'll grab up a handful of grass and fold that over and use that as a brush. But this goldenrod stalk makes a really good bee brush, so just file that away for future knowledge.
For next time you need it. But
Right,
that's what I love about these conversations are these little things that aren't in the books, that aren't in the videos, that aren't in the conferences. It's like talk to a beekeeper and let them give you their special little ideas because it
right.
helps you get creative. Um,
That goldenrod. So right now and then the goldenrod is about to bloom, and it's that lovely triangle of yellow flowers, and my bees make a ton of honey off of that. So
you say about to, like usually what, September, October?
I see yeah, September for sure. I see a little bit of it blooming right now. Like 3 different stalks in the whole field. So it's not, but I have tons of stalks. So it's all about to bloom and it's going to be huge. But until I get a lot of it, I'm going to trickle feed them.
Yeah.
So I feed them, and so I'm trickle feeding now, and then that goldenrod is going to bloom, and I won't be feeding them for that. As soon as I take the honey off in July, that very next week, or sometimes when we're putting the boxes back, we'll do a mite check and a treatment. So they've already gotten their mite treatment for the summer. They're done with it now already. And now we're just trickle feeding and taking care of them, just letting them be bees. As soon as the goldenrod starts to bloom, they'll start filling up their bee houses, and we'll start lift testing them. And when they get to be so heavy that I can't pick them up anymore, I'm like, oh, yay, they're good. And then I make my son pick them up too. So we'll still worry about them until he can't pick them up. And then I know they're good through the winter. We do, if we need to, or so I'll do another mite test in November, end of November. So
Okay.
I can do one more treatment if it's needed before winter.
Okay.
So we'll trickle feed right now, and then goldenrod will bloom, and then if I need to, if I have any light ones, if the colony is big enough that I don't think I need to put it with another colony, and I want to try to build them, then I'll give them the 2-to-1 syrup at that point. But we do a lot of leveling, resource leveling, as we get into the fall. So all of my bees are about the same. And I try to have one deep box for the bees and one full medium box for them.
Okay.
And on colonies that I want to do splits, it'll be 2 deeps and a medium. And the medium is full, and there will be a lot of honey in the deeps too. But most of my colonies, I go into winter with a deep and a medium.
Okay.
And the medium is full of honey. And like I said, my son can't even pick it up. It's so heavy. And then end of November, by the first part of December, we don't open them up anymore. We'll probably go out and just on warm days, look at them, see if anybody coming in or out, just check in. In my earlier days, my mom's a nurse and she had a stethoscope. So I got up there and listened in, put my ear on it and knock a little bit. Anybody home? That kind of thing. And I still, every time we go out to the bee yard, I walk around because they're kind of in a horseshoe. I walk around the outside edges just to see if I'm still a beekeeper or not. So I'm always surprised that we still have bees. Still happy to see that we have bees. November we'll do a mite test again and treatment if needed, and then December we close them up, and then January we'll go by and try to do lift test just to see if we can pick them up. Usually they're all still heavy. February they're getting a little lighter, not bad yet, but by the end of February there might be some that are, if my son can start picking them up, then we start paying closer attention. And we might do mountain camp feeding if we're too far away from anything that's blooming yet and they're getting to be light. So we have it down to a science. Take the lid off, put the shim on, put the cardboard down, pour on some sugar, put the lid back on. So it doesn't take long at all. And they've got some sugar up there that they'll just start chewing on. And we got a whole bunch of pieces of cardboard. We save them from the Christmas deliveries. And just, we have them all the right size already cut out. So you just slap them on there. We got shims by all of them, and, just a little to lift the lid up off of the sugar just a little bit.
Yeah.
So we'll mountain camp feed anybody who needs it. A lot of times though, I go into the spring and there'll be chunks of that sugar that they didn't eat because I'd rather have more than none. And I'll just take those chunks back and drop them into sugar syrup and feed them that as they need that before the bluebonnets actually start. And especially if I have any nukes or if I make any splits, I'll use that to feed them. So even if you do mountain camp and they don't eat it all, it doesn't go to waste. It's still just a lump of sugar. You can melt it down and sugar water it, sugar syrup. And then as our bluebonnets fade out, my other nectar plants happen. So I got the gaillardia and then the horse mint, and I just start all over again.
Back in the cycle again, the cycle of life.
I stop feeding and I let them. Oh, I do another mite test in February or March, the first earliest that I can get in there on a warm day and do it.
Yeah.
And
okay, so I'm just going to tell you that is not lazy beekeeping, because that requires an effort to do some mite checks as often as you're doing them.
I do 3 a year. And honestly, the one in summertime, if we are rushed or it is hot, So I want to do it before it gets way too hot because
Yeah,
that knocks out a whole lot of treatment options because of the
right.
heat. So I know I've got them. I might just go ahead and treat, but the other two we definitely test. And also, every time we break boxes, um, if we hit drone comb, we're looking at the drone comb.
Hmm.
And now I'm even getting happy about making drone comb some more. So I'll put in a shallow frame,
Hmm.
and let them build some drones down here. And that makes it super easy to do a quick test where you just take your, and I keep grabbing my, your honey scraper.
Yeah.
You just scrape it through the tops of 10 drone comb and or drone cells and just pop them right out and
Okay.
look at the larva. And if you have any mites, you can multiply that out 10 to 100 and
Uh, that's
decide
the
if you,
smartest way to do a mite check I've ever heard.
there
Now
you
I'll do
go.
one. If I can do that and it's accurate,
It's
I'll do
close
that.
enough. I mean, if you pull it up and you've got 5 mites, then oh my gosh, and that's just in 10 or how many ever you pluck open,
Yeah.
you just do. And anytime you break your boxes in the springtime, you're almost always going to break some drone comb. So always check it. Always, just so you know what it's looking like. So we're
Yeah.
always looking and my son has better eyes than I do, so I have to have my glasses, but he looks at it closely and, oh, mom, I see a mite. It's like, just one? How many? What's it look like? How many? It's like, no, just one. It's okay. So we'll let it float for a little while, whatever month it is. Nah, we can wait until after we pull the honey, or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm always looking at the drone comb to see if to see what my mite levels might be. Let them
Yeah.
guide me. But
So
yeah,
that's another great reason to stick with a teacher in your local area that you can go listen to their lectures and follow along like you're because right like in the world of beekeeping there's two main camps would be treatment free and treatment. And so I have an open mind to what works for the beekeeper in that particular area. And
mhm.
it's just so great to know what's really working for somebody that's kept bees alive for over a dozen years.
Yeah.
um Okay, we touched on a lot of the things that I wanted to touch on, so thank you so much. Any fun stories you want to share? Any personal memories or uh, cool trips? Like what I'd like to hear about is your honey sommelier training. Let's talk about that for a sec.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah,
We here's a little honey bear. It's spotted lanternfly. You know about spotted lanternfly?
no, tell us. I mean,
This
I know, but yeah, so we want to
this one
tell us.
was spotted lanternfly is an invasive species that it has come over and it is devastating the tree of heaven
Hmm.
uh, flowering tree.
Hmm.
That's its host plant here,
Hmm.
and it makes so the spotted lanternfly is sucking the sap from
Hmm.
the trees and the leaves and
Hmm.
pooping out honeydew. The
Hmm.
bees then grab that and
Hmm.
process it into honey. So
Hmm.
it's spotted lanternfly honey.
Hmm.
Looks just like regular honey. Doesn't quite taste like regular honey, but Dr. Oztork says the BAL value is super high, on par with Manuka. So that's cool, pretty cool.
Pretty
Um,
cool. Let little spotted lantern flies. Yes.
Right. So, I mean, we don't really want them. And if you go search for it, it'll say, kill this bug. I mean, if it gets to Texas, they're really worried that it would hurt the grapes because
Hmm.
that's another host plant. It would mess with our grape production so that they don't want that to happen. Um, so far it's not in Texas, but I'm pretty sure it'll get here.
But that's part of your sommelier training, maybe? Is that?
So it was that was we had it was just the fact that you could eat this honey. We went to it's the American Honey Sensory
Hmm.
training class,
Hmm.
and it's an Italian certification. So
Hmm.
for the final class and to take the test, we have to go to Italy.
Oh,
If we do that whole
shoot.
if we do the whole process all the way through, it ends in Italy. But you can take the first couple of classes here in the US. They are not offered very often.
Mhm.
Like I I was signed up to do it during the middle of COVID,
Hmm.
and it got canceled, and I think they've only had one other class since then.
Hmm.
So it's not a very common thing. Um, so the one I went to, the lady's name is Maria Marchesi. Let's see, here it is.
Marina, yeah,
Marina, yes.
yeah,
The Honey Connoisseur book.
yes.
Again, not gonna focus on the book.
There
There
it
it
is.
is. There it is, the Honey Connoisseur. So anyway,
Yeah.
you can my desk, I have almost everything within reach. Um, so we went to her what's it called? Red Bee, Red Bug,
Barn. What is
Red
it?
Barn, Red something. Anyway, her um her business, and it's a big giant barn, and we were up on the top floor and tasting. There are 18 different Italian honeys that are to a standard. So each one of these honeys has the same, and if you're a wine sommelier, you know all the fancy words to it, and they're in the book. That
It's
whole
red bee honey, by the way.
Red Bee, there you go. Um, you just learn the words for how to describe your honey, and it's a whole lot like how they describe how the wine sommelier describes different wines, and they
Hmm.
talk about the terroir of because it's always different. So every year, this year I had a whole lot of gaillardia, not so much horse mint. Some years I
Hmm.
have more horse mint, and you can tell the difference in what everybody knows. They can tell the difference between what their honey tastes like year over year. It's not, it's really close, but it's not quite the same because the flowers are always different, because one year is more rainy and one year is more sun, and one year your moisture content is higher or lower or whatever. So it's always going to be a little bit different. Um,
Yeah.
so it's just and so what they're trying to do is bring that level of credence to American honeys,
Mhm.
because we just don't have it quite here. Um, Lots of places are trying to get it, and it's a lot more work to pull varietal honeys, and to pull a varietal honey, you have to know what's blooming. You have to take bees there while it's blooming. When it
Hmm.
stops blooming, you got to pull them off and
Hmm.
take that honey.
Hmm.
Anything that's not all the way capped, you can't extract it. So it's frame by frame extracting, right? To get just that varietal. And then, of course, every once in a while, you got to get it tested to make sure that you're actually pulling more than 50% of whatever varietal you're trying to get.
More than 50, is that what you said?
Yeah, more than 50. It's got to be
Okay.
more than half.
Yeah.
And I think for us specifically, it's got to be more than 60 something, but I don't remember exactly, but I know for sure more than half. But in Italy, they have, um, it's a lot because of how, they grow flowers there for perfume. So
Hmm.
they do have giant fields of this certain flower. So they are able, and they do,
Yeah.
think about it in France and in all of Europe. That's the way it is. So you can go to a giant field and it's all sunflowers. So
Hmm.
you know that this is a sunflower honey that you're going to get.
Yeah.
I'm sure that we can do that here in parts, like not right now, but before all the orange trees died, we used to have enough orange trees in South Texas that you could get an orange blossom honey
Yeah.
in South Texas. I don't think we can anymore. I don't think we have that many orange fields anymore. Um,
Okay.
if we do, it's going to be a very small orange blossom honey crop. Um, but like,
So, so teach against the differences. So some people will say, like there can be confusion between an infusion versus a varietal.
oh yeah, so a varietal is just honey. This
Hmm.
is just the way the honey tastes.
Hmm.
And you've done something specific so that you know that this is the only plant that, like honey from cotton, it's a
Hmm.
really light, you know the taste, and it's that same taste. Like just like you can tell this is tallow. I know what tallow tastes like, and this is tallow. I know what mesquite tastes like, and this is delicious mesquite, right? I know what my wildflower tastes like, you know. So we have it, um, and that's a varietal. If you can pull it on and put it off and get it tested, and it's more than half, then it's a varietal. But if it's I am going to go and stick some chilies in my honey, that's an infusion. Or if I'm going to
Yeah.
put some lavender, or if I'm going to put some ginger or whatever I'm going to,
Yeah.
if you put anything else in it, then it's not honey. It's an infusion. It's not,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just as good. It's just not a varietal. So
Yeah.
different tastes, different things.
I don't know that it's just as good. It really bothers me now. But I'm not a hot honey person. I know a lot of people are. If I could pick one infusion, it would be lavender. If I could pick two, it might be lemon. But overall, there's so many beautiful
So if you like lemon, I'll have to bring one of the ones that I've tasted in Italy is basswood.
okay.
It's lime.
Yeah.
Ah, I really like it.
Okay.
But some of the tasting notes on it are, and this is funny because I just had a bunch of friends over, and I have 7 different honeys, and we had a little honey tasting party.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I was like, okay, when you smell this one, when you taste this one, think about hospital room. And they're like, oh yes, medicinal. Oh yeah, I can tell, you know. So this lime has a very pharmacy, a very hotel cleaner. I'm not
Mhm.
hotel, hospital cleaner
Okay.
kind of nuance to it.
Yeah.
Sunflowers, on the other hand, taste like tomatoes, tomato paste.
Interesting.
So you just got to find a flavor, and there's another one that my favorite other flavor is chestnut.
Mhm.
And if you think about a barnyard, that's chestnut just right off the bat. So
Oh gosh, that's great. And cheeses are that way too. So talking about like pairing different cheeses and the
right,
sweet and sour or the sweet and salty taste,
healthy.
blending stuff together.
Hmm.
Yeah, I bet you learned a wealth of information about, the honey connoisseur. That leads me into, I know I've kept you for a long time. I want to be sensitive to your time, but I also want to ask you about honey shows because we are working together to bring a honey show to Abilene in at the West Texas Fair and Rodeo, which is an event that's very close to my heart. And honey shows, when I first started beekeeping, I like honey show wasn't even a thing. I was like in the garden, I was about the food and the terroir and the food ways and agriculture. I didn't even know that you could have a honey show. And so it was inaccessible to me in my mind. It felt like such a bougie thing to do. And it's actually very accessible. And it's because of the work that you are doing, that Barbie and Monica are doing. And I really appreciate you guys making it such an open door to have fun and enjoy and celebrate honey. So if you would just speak a little bit about what is a honey show, we don't have to go deep into it, but why would somebody even want to do that?
The easiest thing to do in the honey show is black jar.
Yeah.
Super easy. All you have to do is bottle up some of your honey, and it can be just this much, you know. We want a little bit more than that because we do black at the TBA event.
Hmm.
Now, if your club is just having a black jar, it can be just a little bit.
Hmm.
But at TBA, we have we want to do a black jar so our judges taste it, but we
Hmm.
also do the people's choice. So you
Yeah.
want to have enough honey samples so that everybody can taste it. And everybody gets to walk around with a little toothpick or something and taste all the different honeys. So it's a great fun way to taste all the different honeys.
Hmm.
And you get the bragging rights because mine tastes the best. And you vote on which one you like the best. And the judges in the back room are also tasting it and just on taste alone deciding which taste they like the best
Very
too.
like, yeah.
Right. So it's all black jar is all about taste, uh,
Hmm.
which is a whole lot. It kind of does segue into the honey connoisseur, kind of the
Hmm.
honey judging kind of helps you open your mind to a little bit of other flavors of honey, um,
Hmm.
finding something good about all of them. Even though I grew up in Houston and I grew up probably eating all tallow honey, it's not my favorite. if I had to pick my favorite, it would be Wahio, which
Mm-hmm.
is, a desert plant that for me, tastes delicious. So, having the black jar just on taste alone. So, but the other thing is a polished jar of honey. So
Mm-hmm.
that's more for marketing. That's that's not about taste as much it is about how you handle the honey after the bees are done with it, right? So are you smoking them too much when you're trying to push them down? That's going to get in your honey. So you don't
Mm-hmm.
want to over smoke them. And then you get your honey and you're putting it in your bottles. Is it got dirty fingerprints on it? Did you touch the inside of the jar? Is the jar just really yucky? All the different kind of things that if you're selling your honey, if you're putting it out there for the world you want to sell it to people, you want to
Yes.
give them a nice, pretty product. And this is just all the different things you can look at to make a nice, pretty product.
Right.
So even though we do have, so on the TBA website, it says honey show, so you can get our big full list of rules. Um, but it's things like, is it filled to the proper fill line? So every jar has a ring around it that is not part of the swirl that the lid screws on, but a
Mm-hmm.
fill line. So you want it to be up to that fill line. And if you're putting liquid in, it's concave. You want the bottom of that concave part to be at
On the fill line.
yeah.
Yeah.
So when you put your lid on it and you take a flashlight, and here's my handy dandy little flashlight. Oh, I can't make it. Oh, here's how to turn it on. Look through. You want to look right at the lid and make sure that you can't see light through it.
Okay.
So that's and then we have big, huge, powerful flashlights, and we use them to look for stuff floating because you don't want dog hair in your honey.
No, I don't.
You don't want crystals floating in your honey. So
No.
a lot of people will filter it and filter it again so that it's all nice, no crystals.
Clear, clean.
And if you
Uh,
do the chunk honey, you want to make sure that your rib is straight, the rib in the middle. Then you want to make sure that you put your chunk honey in up right side up. There's an upside down and a right side up. Think about your
okay.
honey in the frame. When it's in the
Yeah.
frame, all of those, if this is
Cells
the
are
top,
kind of concave. Yeah.
they're this way. So that's the way you put your chunk honey in the comb.
Huh.
In your jar. You want your cells to be facing that way.
The same way they would in nature. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. All
Yeah.
right.
So that's something else the judges look at, right? Because it just makes it look better if it's pointing upwards. So you don't want any. So when you're doing this and you're doing it for a show, you put your lid on here, but you bring your show lid with you.
Yes, this cracks me up.
And you have a piece of plastic wrap.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then when you take your travel lid off and you take your plastic wrap off and you clean it all up and then you take your show lid and put it on and then you turn it in, right?
Yeah. I swear there needs to be a Netflix documentary about Honey Show because it's
there are.
okay. Tell
And
me, tell me.
if you go onto the TBA website, at the bottom, it says here's the 2025 rules, but underneath it, there's like 4 links for
Okay.
YouTube videos for how to do your honey jar, how to do your cut comb, how to do
Yeah.
your wax
There's
candle.
videos.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I've seen the rules, but I didn't know there were videos. So I'll make
Scroll
sure that
down a little further. I'll make sure you have the right link so you can share it
yeah,
with
that's great. That's
And
so
then
cool.
this year we've done a club honey show in Denton. We did one in
Yeah.
Conroe,
Yeah.
and we're gonna do one in San Antonio. And we did one in Houston. So we've done Denton, Houston, and Conroe, and now we're gonna do one in San Antonio next week. So if there's a club close to you and you want to do a club honey show,
Get in touch.
let us know because we can come up and do a tiny club honey show with you, but you get Monica using the TBA rules to
Mm-hmm.
tell you, and so you get to see what what the judging sheet looks like, what you're gonna be judged against, how many points you could lose if you just don't care, and I'm gonna put my thumb on it because I don't care. That's just 10 points I'm losing. I can, make that up somewhere else. Or, you know, whatever, at least you know what all the rules are. And
Right.
she goes through and talks about how you can just we're gonna look right here to make sure that it's to the fill line, y'all. Fill it to the right level. And she so we've got 4 different clubs we've talked to, and her job at the TBA conference is gonna be a whole lot harder. But that's gonna
More
be
people are
great.
coming.
Well, more
Yeah.
people come, but now a lot of people understand
Rules and how to play the
more of
game.
yeah, right, exactly, how to play this silly game. So the reason why you want to do this though
Yeah.
ultimately is for marketing, so that you
Yeah.
can say I have award-winning, I won the best honey in all of Texas. All Texas
Right.
is a big state, so if you can say that, then that's just
That helps you. It celebrates honey. It celebrates the small producer.
absolutely,
It
yes.
celebrates bees. Honey is always a great marketing tool for your bee education. So people, you want to have, you may not be a big honey producer, but you can still be part of the honey show and
Mhm.
really celebrate your
Right.
local honey.
All,
Um,
all it takes is 2 pounds of honey to enter. So that,
and
that you can get that from one frame. So
you can do it. You can do it. Um,
absolutely.
and I think it helps, like I said, just it doesn't matter what level you're at. I think it's just great for beekeeping in general to have a honey standard, because it's not, I mean, you could take it to this particular fair over here that just has a judge that's maybe a cookbook author or a chili cook-off winner, and they're just going on flavor, right? They're just going on what they want
Yeah.
in the moment. But the fact that Texas now has a more standardized approach that's sanctioned through a governing body, this is really the first time that Texas has had this. This isn't like a tradition that we've brought forward. This is something that has been
The
revised.
the
Go ahead.
the TBA has had rules for honey shows for a
Okay.
long time.
Okay.
And we've had a honey show probably since the beginning. Um,
Okay.
so having the honey show is not new.
But
Um,
go ahead.
and we really, I mean, I know what we are missing really is the honey flavor, and because we don't use the flavor
As
as
much.
a point for points. It's
Okay.
mostly tasting it for flaws. Can you taste too much smoke in it,
Or
right? Or
plastic or
or yeah, or plastic, or did they use Be Quick or what did they
oh
use to get the bees out, and did they just leave it on and it permeated? There's one
yeah,
that really does smell like vomit, and there's one that smells like almonds. I would much rather have almonds.
the almonds permeate.
Right? But
Yeah.
if you're doing that big commercial level, then you want them out fast, and you don't have time, and you get the smelly one. But or you just pull them frame at a time, and you use your goldenrod stalk. So,
I'd want.
right,
Or maybe you have a bee board, a skateboard, and they go out and
right,
they can't come back
right.
in.
So the tasting for TBA, the judges use it as a tiebreaker or
Uh-huh.
as for finding faults. They don't use it a whole lot for, it's because I like tallow, I'm going to give it more points than mesquite, or I like mesquite more, or cotton always tastes chemically, or whatever. You can't use that against whoever's bringing their honey in, because
Yeah.
it's so subjective. Taste is so subjective. So we have the polished honey as marketing. It's me, the beekeeper, putting it and presenting my honey to you. And then the black jar is, doesn't my honey taste good? So
Right.
that's where it's all taste, and I don't care how sticky the bottle is, because
Well,
everybody's been digging
I,
in it.
I take it so seriously. I love to taste the black jar, but at the bigger honey shows, it's like there's a lot of entries. And so
Yes,
how do you get through all of that without, like, you have your protein bar ahead of time, because there's a lot of honey to get you buzzed up on. And
right.
um, but I
The,
really take it very seriously when
the
I'm like
the
black
good
jar.
news the good news for our honey judges is that we've added the cookies and the cakes.
Uh-huh.
So after so many honey entries, they can go over here and judge a cookie. Change their mouth. So really, you're supposed to use just lukewarm water, not ice water.
Okay.
We have water crackers, plain
Right.
crackers in there. Um, Sometimes there's a fruit tray for lunch. They can break and get turkey is what was requested, turkey and chicken. They don't want anything spicy, nothing that'll change their palate too much
Mhm.
and not a whole lot. They get big dinner.
Yeah. Man.
And we get all of our stewards help with the black jar for the judges. They narrow
Okay.
it down so they don't have to taste all 70. They can just taste the best 20.
Hmm. Okay. Well, this is awesome. I want to wrap up our wonderful conversation. I know that this is going to be such a fun legacy interview to look back on. I know it's going to help a lot of people all over, but also specifically in Austin area, which is Travis County in Texas. I know you're a little bit north of there, so Round Rock area. Any other mistakes, lessons, things that the elders taught you that you could pass down, or things that are coming to mind about any
Mm.
messages the bees have given you or your mentors, things like that?
I taught this last year at the bee supply store and as they
Yeah.
opened. And the lady that I taught with all the time, her name's Becky. And
Mhm.
it was so cute because Becky and I have had so many similar circumstances. We were both presidents at our clubs. We both worked at our state level club. Um, I don't I don't know if she was the president of hers or not, but she was on the board for sure. Um, so and the same number of years beekeeping, so same experience level. Um, but like she liked this hive tool and I liked this hive tool. She had screen bottom boards. I had no screen bottom boards. I had solid bottom boards. She did this thing and I did this thing. So like so many things we did were different, but it didn't
Uh-huh.
matter in the end because we both got lovely jars of honey and we both kept our bees alive over winter. So just to say there's a whole lot of ways to do it.
Yes.
They're all right as long as you keep your bees alive. So,
Right.
and if your goals can change year over year, your goals can change from one colony to the next colony,
Hmm.
So don't think that you have to stay with the same, oh, maybe I want, you can be relaxed about it and try different things. I've got top bars that I love because they have the windows in them. I can open it up and look inside.
Oh, cool.
That's so fun. You can't put a window in a Langstroth hive. You know,
Right.
it one side it's just the edges and the other side it's the resource, there's no bees there to look at. So having a top bar with all that, ah, so fun to watch that, So there's so many ways to do it. It's it's hard to it's hard to be wrong, right?
Right. Yeah.
You
That's
can keep
that's
your bees alive. That's all you need to do is keep your bees alive. So
I'm gonna start introducing myself with how many years I've kept bees alive now. I think that's really smart. Um,
yes.
you got to tell us about your work in the legislature, and then I think I can let you go because I can't talk to Dodie Stillman without talking about the House bills that you've been part of. So, what are our bullet points on some of that?
Oh my gosh. I wish I could grab that piece of paper and it's probably this one.
Okay.
Um yeah, so because I am in Austin or a
Area.
suburb of Austin, it's easy for me to get to the Capitol. I know who all of the House representatives are that are on the Ag Committee. This
Mhm.
year, for fun, we put honey in 400 jars, 400 little bears, and
Yes.
went to the Capitol. There was an Ag breakfast or
Uh-huh.
Ag Committee breakfast, so we got to give out honey bears to all of the staff members and probably just about everybody else. There were lots of people that came through. Like I said, 400 little bears went out the door.
Mhm.
Um, and at the time, it was really cool this year because we got to say, hey, did you know that we are having a massive bee die off? We're in dire straits. We really don't need anything else that our beekeepers need to worry about. So let's keep this legislative session on the, keep bees out of everything. We don't need to go forward with anything really, except for this one thing that we tried last year, 2 years ago. We would really like to get the labeling cleaned up from the federal level to the state level. They're not in sync. Well, that
Mhm.
bill passed and they are in sync now, but it was cool to get to talk to them before this session opened to say, we got this huge bee die off. We need some help. And it still took a little while, but I think everybody heard about it eventually. Um,
Yeah.
so, and that was good. I mean, it was a talking point to have with them. Um, the last legislative session was a big push to get our apiary specialists. So we talked about that a lot, and Mary Gonzalez gave us money. We got Garrett hired, Dr. Slater's hired, and now he's hired Lauren in Houston and Omar up in the Dallas
Fort Worth,
area.
yeah.
Yeah. So and uh Heather, Heather is out in Overton with him. So we've got these great bunch of people all around the state now that are here to help us, all of the beekeepers. So that's cool. So we did that 2 sessions ago. This session, it was getting the federal law to match the state law, because they were kind of out of sync. Now, if you are, I mean, I have been saying this for a couple of years, but if you are just putting honey in a bottle, that's a farm activity. You don't have to have a special honey house. You don't have to have a special kitchen, and it doesn't matter how many pounds, and you can sell it, and you can sell it to the feed store and they can sell it. And it doesn't have to be, just the beekeeper to the community or to the consumer. So all of those rules are gone now. It's a whole lot easier for me to sell my honey out my front door. I don't have to have a special kitchen or anything like that. So,
The honey police aren't going to come get you. So I think
right.
that's amazing. And then
So
can
a
you split
lot, a
that?
lot of that is going to the different legislators that are on that ag committee and talking to them about the bills, asking them to support the bills, and being there when the bill makes it into committee to testify for it or against it if you have to for whatever reason. But just so that they know that there is somebody here. And
Yeah.
occasionally we on the legislative committee might reach out to beekeepers that we know of that are in a representative's area to say, hey, call your person and say you're for this, or read through it and see if you're for it. And if you
Yeah.
are, these are the reasons why I think you should be. And,
Yeah.
so we can give you some hints and tell you we would like for you to do it, but it's always up to you to do it however you want to do it. But
Mm.
there's a whole legislative committee that works with the TBA. Lisa Hyder is awesome keeping it all organized for us. And when I go up to the Capitol, I can represent all of TBA. So at least there is somebody there voicing it that is a beekeeper, um, that knows about bees and how hard
Yeah.
it is to keep bees alive and how we need all the help we can get. And so it's cool that I'm here in so close to the state capital that I can do that. And
Yeah.
and it's kind of fun. I This is what I was doing for the 8 years after Master Beekeeper. So
Okay.
when Dr. Slater said, what are you going to do? How are you going to get it? I was like, well, we're going to have to add a new major, and it's going to be bee advocacy. And here's all the reasons, and like, if you go vote, you get a point. So
Mhm.
I've created a whole bunch of other ways that you can use bee advocacy to get credit. So it's a whole nother major now. So that's my new major. Yay.
Hey.
So that's how I'm gonna make it through the Master Craftsman project is bee advocacy, because I've been doing it for a while.
Yeah, you have. And there's so many beekeepers that thank you that I know that you have really paved the way for the next generation and myself included. And I have loved every minute of this. I appreciate you're just so kind and generous with sharing your knowledge and your time, and you're a true bee steward, a true sharer of the information. And I know we're just so grateful to have you, Dodie. Such an awesome leader and a Texas woman leader. I love it. So Can't wait to work with you some more in the future, and I'll make sure everybody has links to be able to find the Map My DCA, the Texas Master Beekeeper Program, the Honey Show, and Dodie has a professional email that she uses that I'll also put in the description in case you have questions that you want to reach out to her directly. Other than that, Dodie speaks at a lot of our conferences that we have here in Texas. And so if you're at a conference and she's speaking, maybe you caught a cool vibe and you want to hear more or ask her more questions in person. You've just been so accessible to all of us that
Absolutely.
have questions. You've helped me in a number of departments, requeening being one of them. And I thank you for marching on. We just love you so much.
No problem. And I'm happy to talk to anybody. I'll talk about bees all the time.
Amazing. All right. Thanks, Dodie.
Thank you.